guys, how's it going? Alex Scott here with Consordini.com. Thank you so much for checking out another one of our super cool studio gear reviews. In this video, I'm going to be taking a look at a very cool plugin. This is IK Multimedia's Syntronik. Now, this is more or less IK's answer to other companies' offerings of kind of fully featured synth-focused plugin bundles. So Syntronik in this case, or Syntronik, is really a standalone piece of software. You don't get all of the individual instruments as their own separate plugins like you do with other companies like Native Instruments or Arturia's V-Collection or anything like that. But it's really pretty much the same idea as these other companies' bundles. You know, if we think about Arturia's V-Collection, you get this whole set of synth plugins that kind of accurately model all of these classic vintage synths. Same thing with like retro machines from Native Instruments. There's a whole bunch of companies out there doing this, both with kind of vintage emulations or recreations of classic synths, as well as more modern synths that are designed by these different manufacturers. But in the case of Syntronik, in IK Multimedia's case here, we do have something that is really designed to emulate the sound of a bunch of classic synthesizers. And overall, I think it is pretty good. We're going to talk about a lot of the different features. I'm going to run you guys through how it works exactly. I'm going to tell you guys about the things that I do like and some of the things that I don't like as much. I am not going to be doing any particular sound demoing in this video, just to give you guys a heads on that up front. There's a lot of other videos out there that feature the sounds of this plugin or the different modules within this plugin, and you know, there's thousands and thousands of presets in here. So usually when I review really big instrument bundles like this or anything like that, I just think that it's a little better to just talk about it, tell you guys about it, and then if you guys want to check it out or, you know, go listen to sound samples elsewhere, that's totally fine, because there's too much for me to really effectively get into and show you guys. But in any case, we're going to go through it, tell you guys all about it, and tell you guys some things that I enjoy and some things that I think could potentially be improved upon. But regardless, as you can see, we've got it pulled up here in Studio One as an instrument plugin, and this is the basic kind of interface that will open up the first time you pull up Syntronik. So we have a few categories in this main kind of browser page, which is how you're going to get to all of your different sounds. And over here on the left is where we'll start. This is the list of obviously all the synths that are included in Syntronik in terms of what it's able to model. So there's some stuff in here that you would totally expect, and there's also some very unique and interesting ones. Starting at the top, we have the 99, which is kind of their take on the Yamaha SY99, which is right off the bat something that's a little bit more obscure. I wasn't even familiar with the SY99 until I got this plugin. Next we have the Blau, or Blue, or I'm not sure how they want you to say that, but this is a PPG Wave, which is an early digital synthesizer. We have the Bully, which is a Moog Minotaur, from what I understand. You can see it's kind of a bass pedal oriented thing. The Minotaur, of course, a classic bass synth from Moog. We have the DCO-X, which is their take on a few different synths from Roland, namely the J3XP or JX3P. I can never remember what order the letters and numbers go in on that one, but it's kind of a later 80s, early 90s, more kind of acidy bass type synth. We then have the Galaxy, which is from based around the Alesis Andromeda, which is a very interesting synth from the early 90s. Then we have the Harpy 2600, or excuse me, Harpy 260. We all know what that's supposed to be. The J60, obviously Roland Juno, J8, Jupiter 8, Minimod, which is going to be our Mini Moog or Moog Model D, Noir, which I'm not 100% sure what Noir is meant to be. We have the OBXa, which is an Oberheim OBXa, classic polysynth. Polymorph Pro V, which I believe is kind of a Prophet. Sam, which is going to be a recreation of the SEM classic synth. String Box, which is going to be like a string machine, and TO3, obviously a Roland TB303 bass synthesizer, and then finally the V80, which is going to be the Yamaha CS80. So you get a really, really good and kind of wide breadth of different synth sounds. There's some more kind of acidy, late 80s, early 90s stuff in here. There's some real classic 70s, you know, the String Box and the Mini Moog and the Jupiter, you know, are a little bit more classic, you know, analog synths, and then a few digital offerings in there as well. It has some crossover with Arturia V-Collection, which, by the way, just as another kind of general disclaimer, as we go through these features, I'm going to be comparing it and contrasting it a lot with Arturia V-Collection, because that's kind of the closest thing to that that's out there right now that I'm familiar with and have used. Okay, so it's very, very, very similar in layout, it's similar in design, and it has, you know, like I just said, a lot of crossover synths. So we have a Jupiter 8 in both collections, we have a Minimod in both collections, we have an ARP 2600 in both collections. So there's a lot of points of crossover. We have a SEM as well. But there's also some synths in here that are not included in our Arturia V-Collection, like the SY99, like the Minotaur, like the J3 XP or whatever it is, the Alesis Andromeda. Those are all unique to Syntronik. So that's a point right there that, you know, if you're looking for those sounds specifically, if you're somebody who's looking for emulations of those particular synths, Syntronik might be a better option for you. V-Collection from Arturia seems to be a little bit more vintage geared, so to speak. You know, they have more stuff from the 70s and less of these kind of more modern or late 80s, early 90s synths like the 303 and like the Alesis Andromeda and this stuff. So, you know, that's the first thing that you're going to want to look at if you're looking at Syntronik as a solution for your synth plugin needs, is what things it comes with. So depending on the sounds that you're going for could definitely affect that. But that is everything that it includes. Like I said at the beginning, you do not get individual plugin versions of these. At least I am not familiar with how to download or install them. Everything is just contained within the Syntronik plugin, which is, you know, again, comparing it to V-Collection, this is basically Arturia's Analog Lab. This is the same kind of a thing, or any of the other kind of master host plugins like Complete Control from Native Instruments or anything like that. That's basically how Syntronik functions. So you get a list of your synths, and then we have a big preset browser right here. Now you can see there's thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of presets, which is great. You can even download additional ones from IK's website. And then with filters, this is one thing where I think that they really do it well. Because, you know, like in our video about Analog Lab and V-Collection, you know, most plugins like this have a whole preset browsing system. And a lot of them are laid out pretty similarly in terms of you being able to select or filter your presets based on a number of different criteria. But IK have really kind of gone over the top with this. So not only do we have kind of our normal category, arpeggios, basses, pads, hits, all this kind of stuff, we also have all these different very fun kind of styles and descriptive ways to look for and find presets. So mood, angry, anxious, blissful, bold, calm. Or we can go by genre, acid, ambient, avant-garde, classical, EDM. We even have two EDM things here, one all capitals and one all lowercase. Folk, funk. We can go by style, analog, antique, classic, complex, chaotic, contemporary, ethereal. You know, there's a lot of different ways to describe the presets that you're looking for. Timbre, buzzy, compressed, crisp. So that's kind of cool. A lot of plugin manufacturers, like, again, getting back to V-Collection, you know, it has a little bit of stuff like this in terms of, I think it just has like a style filter in terms of like, oh, I want it to be brighter or I want it to be darker or something like that to help you find presets. But IK has really gone almost over the top with options in terms of how you want to look for and discover new sounds within your library of presets here. But once we go ahead and load something, let's find a kind of a random patch here. Big accordion from Stringbox. Sounds like a plan. We double click, obviously it's going to load that in. Now we can start looking at some of the other features. Here we are presented with the actual controls of the instrument. So this is another difference between V-Collection and Syntronik, is that in V-Collection, Arturia really took time to model the look of the original synth. Syntronik does that a little bit. As you can see, the knobs and the faders and the buttons are all kind of correct. We've got this wooden edging, but it's not a picture of the actual instrument. They've just kind of laid out a similar style of controls into a square window, and that is true of pretty much everything. So this is the synthy one. If we go up here and load maybe a Blau preset, blue, I'm still not sure how they want you to say that, you can see that it maps to the same kind of square shape. And I think that it looks nice. I think that the knobs, you know, look nice and everything looks period correct. I do kind of prefer V-Collection's approach where it lays it out and it looks exactly the same on screen. It looks like you've just set down a keyboard in front of you. So if you're familiar with any of these vintage synths, you're going to know exactly where all the controls are. It's of course very clearly labeled here, but it's been wrapped into this kind of square thing, so it tends to move things around a little bit, change how things are laid out, which is neither here nor there. I prefer V-Collection's approach to this. Some people might prefer Syntronik's approach to it, because I will say in V-Collection sometimes it's a little hard to see things. If the original controls on the synth were super tiny, and then Arturia has modeled that, you know, they can also be a little bit tiny on screen. Here in Syntronik, I think things are a little easier to see, but it doesn't feel quite as authentic. It feels pretty authentic, but not quite as authentic as V-Collection. So one thing to consider. But regardless, you know, obviously we've got all of our controls for each synthesizer right here. We are able to load up 4 different patches and kind of A, B different patches right within Syntronik, which is kind of a cool feature. So you can do that up here by just clicking through. You can load up a number of different sounds. If you're auditioning things for a tune, you can very easily build 4 different patches in a couple of different synths and just flip through all of them. Now over here we have our keyboard layers. In case you need to set up a split keyboard, you can assign that to, you know, A, B, C, D. These are these same preset switching or kind of audition switching features here. If you do set up different patches, you can also set those up as layers or splits on a keyboard. So if you want to have a lead patch that you created in the right hand and then a bass patch that you created in the left hand on your keyboard, you can do that using these A, B, C, and D controls as well. So it's really up to you guys how you want to implement that, but very nice feature. If we need to get back into our browser, we can do so here. If we want to simply move through our presets on a given synth, we can do that here. And of course we can save presets if we would like. Moving over here, we just have really basic quick mixer controls, you know, volume, master, output volume, pan, mute, solo. Very, very simple mixing solution here, but then we can get a little bit more in depth in terms of our effects. Okay, so on each of these A, B, C, and D kind of channels, so to speak, we have this very cool little effects rack here. And this allows you to load in effects from T-Rex 5, which I really, really dig. You know, we've already done a video on T-Rex 5, and I think that it's a really great set of effects plugins, and a lot of those get integrated here in this very fun kind of lunchbox rack mixer thing where you can drag around these modules. Looks very, very nice, and there's a ton of different options. So we have a number of different amps from Amplitude. We have some distortion options, which are sort of pedals and other effects from IK. We have dynamics and EQs. We have like an SSL-ish channel strip, 1176, Fairchild 670, EQP1A from Pultec, LA2A compressor. We have some modulation options, some very nice reverbs, digital and hall verbs and stuff, and then a few different filters, including a very cool wah. You know, lots and lots of cool stuff. And I really like how they've laid it out. It's very easy to move modules around if you want to game stage things. It looks really, really slick. And because a lot of this, they're the same algorithms that are present in T-Rex 5 and in Amplitude and some of IK Multimedia's other stuff, they sound great. You know, there's a lot of really, really nice options in here for kind of sculpting your tones and building some things right within Syntronik without having to deal with the mixer and your DAW and stuff like that. You can kind of build it within here, which is really, really nice. And, you know, again, if you use this A, B, C, D feature to kind of set up different patches, whether you're auditioning between them or you've got a split going on, you do have separate racks for each sound, which is very, very cool. So you can really get pretty in depth, whether you're doing performance, you know, again with layers and splits, or you're just A-Bing patches. It allows you to really build something out and then do a split with it, do a layer with it, whatever you want to do. Very, very cool. So you do also have a step sequencer built in here, up here under this little kind of piano roll-y looking icon. It is up to 32 steps when you very first load it. I'm not sure if you can go any longer than that, but it's a pretty decently well-featured step sequencer, so if you need to program arpeggiated sequences or anything like that, you can do that in here, obviously. Pretty easy to use. And then finally, we just have some basic settings. This is where if you need to map a MIDI keyboard or something to the program, you can do all of that. So that is really all there is to Syntronik. It's pretty, I don't want to say basic, because it's not basic. It can do a lot, but it's very well laid out. It's very, very intuitively laid out. There's not a ton to get to know when you very first open it up, but you can go pretty deep and really build some cool patches. I haven't mentioned yet how I think it sounds. You know, again, I'm not really doing a sound demo here, so I'm not going to go through and play you guys a ton of patches, because again, there would be just so much to get to. This video would be wicked long for me to feel like I've done it justice. But in general, I think that it sounds pretty good. I think that V-Collection sounds a little bit better from Arturia in terms of how they've modeled the analog circuit response and just that kind of authenticity and warmth that you get. I think V-Collection is a bit of a notch above. But I do think that it sounds pretty good. I think that some of the synths they've chosen to model are a little bit odd. I think that V-Collection has done a better job, at least for me personally. You know, I understand that there's a lot of people out there who like a lot of different things in the synth world. I tend to go for more vintage, more analog, more gritty and warm and rich sounding stuff. So some of these, like the Yamaha SY99, it's not a synth that I was even remotely familiar with. Before getting this, I actually had to look up what it was before I made this review, just because I wasn't totally sure. It seems a little bit more geared towards kind of some modern stuff, you know, again with the Alesis Andromeda, the 303. I think if you do more kind of acidy, squelchy stuff, if you like more of those sounds, this is going to be a slightly better option for you, because it does focus on modeling those synths a little bit more than the really old school buchlas and stuff like that that are present in V-Collection. So again, totally personal preference thing, but that is what I think about it. I think that how they've laid out how you can move through your presets is very cool. It gives you tons and tons of options to navigate really easily. I like the way that they approach layering and splitting. It's very simple and very, very intuitive. I like the effects rack. You know, there's a lot to like, but at the end of the day, I think that the sound engine itself just doesn't feel quite as authentic. There are people out there who might totally disagree with that. That is just what I hear when I use Syntronik and then go over to using V-Collection. V-Collection just feels more real. It feels more analog and more authentic than Syntronik does. I still think they've done a great job, and if Syntronik was all you had and you like to do electronic production and you want to have a bunch of synths, I don't think you're going to, you know, play the sounds and go, oh, this sounds terrible. Not at all. I think that it's great. I just think that V-Collection, the guys at Arturia have done something a little bit more special. It may be from the fact that, you know, Arturia has some big heavy-hitting analog synths that they've built, like the Matrix Brute, like the Drum Brute drum machine, which we've reviewed here on the channel. You know, they've done a little bit more in the world of analog synthesis than IK has, so I think that might give them a bit of a leg up in terms of the modeling side of things as well. I don't know, but I like the sounds in V-Collection a little bit more. Along that same line, like I said in the V-Collection video, the presets in V-Collection are really cool. It really feels like people actually went in and really took the time to make each sound unique and inspiring and complex and really have a lot of character to it. Moving through the presets in Syntronik, I don't feel that way as much. I think that there's more sounds in Syntronik that are just kind of throwaway. They're presets that are there for the sake of just having a big list of presets, and they're not all necessarily things where I load it up, I play a chord, and I go, wow, somebody really took their time to make a cool sound here. It's just like, okay, it's another skwank, skwank, skwank kind of generic synth sound. So I wish that the presets that are present in a lot of these modules and just in Syntronik in general were a little bit more well thought out, were a little bit more inspiring. I wish that the developers had taken a little bit more time to give us presets that sound really cool on their own. Presets are not everything. I say this in a lot of plugin videos. You know, I don't always use presets. My favorite way to work is to start with a preset and then kind of tweak it to taste. And you can definitely do that in this, and some of the presets are very, very good for that. But I also do like, you know, if I'm trying to get something done for a client really, really quickly, whether it's a compositional thing or a jingle or whatever, it is nice to be able to pull up a synth sound and immediately be inspired to start creating, and not always have to worry about building a patch that I really, really like. There's some presets in here that I think are really cool, but overall I think that they're a little bit weaker than the V-Collection presets, just from an inspirational standpoint, from a complexity standpoint. They don't feel as rich or as inspiring to me. So because of that, And because the sound engine doesn't sound quite as rich and authentic and textured as the V-Collection one does, and because of how it looks as we pull up some of these synths, and you know, again, just what I was saying about it looking close-ish to the actual original synth, but them really just taking the style of control and cramming it into a square, whereas each individual thing within V-Collection, you pull it up and it's like literally a picture of an ART 2600 or it's a picture of a Minimod right there on screen. I think that's really cool, and that's a little more inspiring for me to use than this kind of a layout is. That's totally nitpicky, and I get that. You know, what a plugin looks like really doesn't have a lot of bearing, but it's just, you know, I love my analog gear. If you guys have seen any of the videos where I'm working in my studio back at home, I have a real Hammond organ, I have pianos, I have a Rhodes, I've got all this rack gear. You know, I am a sucker for real stuff. I'm a sucker for real knobs, I'm a sucker for real circuits. And the closer I can get to that in plugin form, the more inspirational a plugin is going to be for me. So in V-Collection, where it actually feels like, or looks like at least, you're sitting in front of a CS80 or something, as opposed to in here, it's the right colors, but you know, you can tell it's not really a CS80. I mean, you know, they've got it pretty decent, but it's still, it's all just kind of crammed within this square interface, and it doesn't look quite the same as the original keyboard does. I'm a sucker for that kind of stuff. I really like it when they make it look authentic. They don't remap the controls. So that's not going to matter to a lot of people. That's just me. But overall, I think that it's really good. I think that if you are someone who's in the position like I was, where you're getting IK's like Total Studio Max, their whole bundle of all of their plugins, I think Syntronik is great in that, because it is a really great synth suite, you know, that's going to have all the sounds that you're ever going to need. For most applications, it does sound pretty good, and it works well. It's very, very easy to use. So if you're looking for like a one and done solution, that Total Studio 2 Max, which I got, you know, it has Syntronik, it has Amplitude, it has Miroslav Philharmonic, which is an amazing string scoring suite. Got a video on that. It has T-Rex 5. It's really got everything you need, and it is all very pro level. But because I also have V-Collection, I like it a little bit more, you know? And we may be able to do a video on Arturia's effects plugins. You know, they've also done some stuff more like T-Rex 5, where it's like channel strips and compressors and EQs and stuff. I'm really looking forward to the opportunity to check those out, because I may find that I really like those. They may not be as good as T-Rex. I'm not sure. We're going to find out. But regardless, you know, that's really all there is to it. I think it's good. I think it's a great solution for some people. I think the fact that it's included in Total Studio is awesome. And I think that for 95% of people out there, it's going to be more than enough in terms of synth modeling. Are there some features and things in it that I would like to see? Do I think V-Collection sounds a little bit better? Yes, I do. So I'm generally going to reach for V-Collection when I need this kind of stuff, but that is not to say that it is not good, because it is. It's very, very good. So those are my thoughts on Syntronik. If it sounds like something you guys want to check out, I highly, highly recommend it. We'll put a link down in the description below so that you guys can go check it out on the IK site or go pick it up. So yeah, IK Multimedia's Syntronik. But in any case, what do you guys think? Do you like Syntronik? Do you like V-Collection? Do you like other synth plugins out there even more? Whatever your thoughts may be, definitely leave them in the comments down below. Always appreciate hearing from you. If you have not yet subscribed to Consordini's YouTube channel, please do so. Be sure to click that notification bell to be kept up to date with our new content. And if you want to give this video a like or a share, we would greatly appreciate that. Regardless, my name is Alex Scott with Consordini.com. Thank you guys very, very much for watching. Really appreciate you, and we will see you in the next video.